Hello, welcome to my dining room. This is episode 34 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. My name is Anne or Annie, and I'm coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin. Today is Friday, January 31st, 2025. It's a very sunny day here, and I've got tea towel blocking the direct sunlight from hitting me in the face. We had 50 degrees here yesterday, and it was nice. I got outside in the yard in the afternoon and did a little bit of tidying up and got some fresh air, took a walk with a friend. Been having trouble still walking distances because of the bicycle injury that I had last summer and inflamed bursa in my heel, and it's been troublesome, and I would like to get over it, and it's just taking a long time, and good days and bad days, so that's how it is. I walked 3.5, almost 4 miles on Tuesday, and that did not feel good at the end of the day. So just keep plugging along. But that's not, you're here for knitting and living and learning. And today, that's kind of what this podcast is all about. What I am learning in the process of creating and making and doing things. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate all the views and subscribers and the likes and the comments. It's great. And if you want to connect with me, the email is livelearnknit@gmail.com. There is a blog that has all of the show notes, plus photos, plus a couple recipes, and I should add more things to that from time to time. And that is livelearnknit@blogspot.com. livelearnknit.blogspot.com. Boy. All of these informations are down below in the show notes, so that's a better place to go than me talking about it. Thank you. So, what I'm wearing today, this episode will be called A Comedy of Errors, because there were errors in the last couple weeks, I'll tell you, boy. And living and learning because of them, that's how we learn. We learn from our mistakes, right? Yeah. I should have learned plenty this last couple weeks. So I'll start with what I'm wearing just briefly, because you've seen this before if you watched episode 8, which was last Christmas. This is the Pravda pullover by Pamela Wynn, and that's the beautiful yoke looks like, and then it's just plain green down below, so I won't stand up. This is 100% alpaca, Juniper Moon Farms Harriet Great, and that is the yarn that was called for in the pattern. And I rarely use the same yarn that the pattern calls for, but that time I did. And I like this sweater. It's a very warm furnace of a sweater. I can wear this outside without a coat. I could have yesterday. I had a different sweater on for yesterday that could get dirty, doing yard work and that. So yeah, it's very warm. It's heavy. It has, well, yeah, it's peeled a bit. I haven't debobbled it recently. But anyway, I am wearing this. The meat of the episode concerns this sweater. So we'll get to that in a bit. Before we get into that, I will also just say right now about this pattern for the Pravda on Ravelry, and I said this in the episode 8, but I didn't really investigate it, I guess. The pattern says it costs $6 on Ravelry, and that's what it says. And I went and clicked on the link, because the link, it's not just one of those instant, like add it to your cart and buy it. It takes you to the Knitting Fever website. And unfortunately, when you go to the Knitting Fever website, it says that page isn't there, and that it couldn't find the pattern. And I did not contact them to see why that was the case. But that's too bad because this is a really nice pattern. It was well written, clear instructions, I thought, and versatile because I made a bunch of modifications to the construction method, which I'll talk about in a bit. So, yeah, I'm not sure what that is all about. So if you're interested, you might have to do a little digging to find the pattern. And hopefully it is still available somewhere, and that's just a glitch, that they haven't figured out. I'm not sure what the status is of knitting fever yarns these days. I think they're still in existence and doing things. The website's still functioning, I believe, so just that page was not working. So that's that. More in a moment about the Pravda. But I want to update about the Yume sweater, which I talked about last time. That I showed a work in progress. Excuse me. The Yume sweater. And I think that's how you say it. Yeah, that's Japanese for dream. And the yarn I'm using is sueño, haiku sueño, which is Spanish for dream. And I thought that was a really interesting connection. I didn't know that until I started the sweater. Anyway, I didn't do anything with that sweater since the last podcast, except study. The question I asked last time was because I had done, again, it's a top-down yoke similar to this, a round yoke shaping, worked top-down. And it has a bit of lace up at the top, and then you just do the rest of the round yoke. And you do short rows, up here to raise the back of the neck. But then they also wanted you, after you did all this yoke shaping, they wanted you to put in another set of short rows before you split for sleeves. And it was going to be, I think, 4 short rows. Then you would have to resolve them, so there would be like 6 additional rows in the back of the sweater. And I questioned that, like why you would put them that low. And I asked if anybody had done that. I didn't get any responses on that, but what I did was look on Ravelry on the Yume project page, and you can search the projects, and you can put in so you can search the projects that are there for keywords. And so I put short rows in the box and read through the people who mentioned short rows in their project notes. And sometimes it was just saying work the short rows or da-da-da-da. But there were, the first one I found that, said, I worked those short rows and it gave me a pouch in the back. And I thought, that's what I thought it would do. So somebody confirmed that, and they said they weren't happy with it. And I don't remember if they took them out or not, but they just thought it gave them a pouch. Now, would that come out in blocking? I don't know. But there were enough, by the time I got through finding a half a dozen people who said, I'm not doing those short rows. I think they're unnecessary. I thought, okay, I'm not doing them either, because I do think they're unnecessary. And then I Googled short row shaping in the back of sweaters or something like that. And there was a very well-written article with a good diagram of placing short rows in various points on the back of a sweater to raise the back of the neck and lower the hemline. And we have Gracie here today, being the guest director. So I will link to that article because it made sense in theory, and I think if you feel like all your sweaters right up in the back, that might be a thing to do. I would maybe put 1 set in. I don't know that I would do 4 extra rows. And I don't think that's really a problem, raising the back of the sweater like that. So, Yeah, so I left them out, but I did learn why, it made very good sense in that article about what the shaping was doing. She's just going to be a talker too for a while. So, okay, you've said enough. Ah, she's silly. Anyway, so that's my update on the Yume. I will get back to that eventually. I've got some other things going on. I can take that with me now because, well, as soon as I split for sleeves, I need to put it on larger needles and try it on. I think I did that, and I was going to just work even like another inch or so and then split for sleeves. And so as soon as I do that and I'm working round and round, then I can take it with me for mindless knitting, which will be good. So it will be work done. And the other thing I did, which was, here we go. This will be the make, do, and mend corner of the episode. Because I mended these slippers, and here's my mend. This beginning to, you've all seen this slipper pattern, right? Where it's, you do a whole bunch of garter stitch back and forth, and you've got a little, it doesn't show on this pair because I've used it for the seaming. You've got a little knit ridge going up the sides, but this is all garter stitch, so it kind of folds up like this, and then you can work back and forth in ribbing, but I like to work circular to make the toe. And then one of the fellow knit listers from back in the 90s, she came up with this triangle shaping to start the slipper, and then you actually pick up these stitches. So they're totally seamless. And there's a link to that on my Ravelry page because I think there is anyway. Or if you look at me, it says I have patterns on there, and this is one of them. These are called Peggy Ann's slippers because Peggy Pignato is the one who came up with the triangle. And I had posted these to the knit list as one of the things we were knitting at holiday time for gifts, because I did knit a lot of these slippers for gifts. Sunshine's coming in now. See how bright? Okay, so yeah, I do a lot of these, and I was for a while just doing them out of any old thing and then tossing them when they wore out, because it's just a garter stitch sole at the bottom, and that doesn't stay forever. So this pair, you can see if I turn it inside out, got a hole in boy, the sun is really bright, got a hole in the heel, and it might have also had a hole at the toe on this one. And it's really weird because one slipper that happened and the other one it didn't happen yet. And I can't really tell left and right on these, so I don't know that I always wear them on the same feet all the time. But I will say that I know, like going up and down my basement steps, there are stair treads, and the slippers catch sometimes on the stair treads and snag, and it's like, oh, why? I just made these slippers, and there they go snagging on a the little tack sticking up out of the stair tread or something. And I try tacking them down, or it's an edge. The treads are wearing out, so there's a little sharp edge of the plastic. Ugh. Anyway, home improvement needs to be done. But I liked this pair of slippers because the yarn for these, I'm sorry, I have to hold it out of the sunlight or close it up. Well, actually that's kind of good. The beige yarn, there's a combination of a lot of yarns in this slipper. There's a beige wool yarn. There is a beige cotton chenille yarn. There is a cream colored cotton, I don't know if it's all cotton or if it's a cotton silk blend, because it was cream colored with flecks or slubs of tan and rust and gold and things like that. so kind of tweedy. So that you can just see a bunch of different things. Like there's a bit of the chenille, gold chenille. And I knew the chenille and the cotton wouldn't shrink, but the wool did. So this has become very dense and very sturdy. And I like the top. It's snug, fits my foot well, and it's very warm. But of course, my weight on the bottom of slippers, you know, made that garter stitch sole foot wear out. So I took some other wool, which is this rainbow colored wool here, and I knit a full length patch. And I do that a lot with these slippers, almost from the get-go. When I make a new pair, I will cast on, usually the in-between part for me is 10 or 11 or 12 stitches, so I will cast that many on, make a garter stitch rectangle, and then whip stitch it onto that knitted side seam. That's why you can't see it here, because I covered it up with that. So I will do that, and then that just gives it a double sole, and that lasts quite a while. Well, on one or both of these, that repaired sole had also worn out, because this yarn is just a wool 2-ply, maybe like a DK weight, and I did cast on. I'm counting the stitches across. I think I just went, I cast on until it was the same width, eyeballed it, and knit that and worked it. So, because, yeah, once this, was washed and blocked and shrunk a bit, you needed a different amount of yarn and smaller yarn, you needed more stitches. Anyway, you get the idea. So that wore out. So I had showed you, that swatch that I made last time out of my friend Patrice's hand spun. I have a lot of that yarn, and I have oddballs of wool in that, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go find an oddball. And that, her hand spun, that particular stuff is thicker, heavier, it's like a rug yarn almost. And I thought, well, I'll find some of that. And so I made just toe and heel patches, because that's where it was worn out. And I thought, yeah, it's not on the instep. I could have done the whole thing again, but I thought, well, let's start building up just the toe and the heel. See what happens with that. And I haven't worn these yet. I might throw them in the wash once before I wear them, just to see if this will shrink up a bit. It might. And that would make it even a little sturdier. Now, I have some of those leather soles that you can whip stitch onto the bottom of slippers, and I fully intend to do that one day. Or, pick up around there and knit a pair of slippers up. I just haven't figured out, if that's what I want to do. Sew those onto an existing pair of slippers. If so, which ones? Or do I want to make a whole new pair of slippers? If so, which ones? Decisions. And I also have some ultra suede that I thought would be good for a slipper bottom. And it probably would be very slippery too. But I am not too concerned about that. I mean, someday I might be. But I always really like slipping and sliding, and I know that's not a good thing the older I get, but anyway, yeah, so as far as putting like a non-stick surface on the bottom of them, I'm not there yet. So anyway, that was my Make, Do, and Mend project, and they were patched once, and now they've been patched again. Will I patch them a third time? I'm not sure. We'll see. Time will tell. And hopefully these will last more than one season now. I can't remember when I made these, and I don't know if I have notes on them or not. I could look back and see, I guess. But, yeah, because I was making a whole lot, almost every season I thought, well, I'll make myself a fresh pair of slippers for the winter season. So, but yeah, these are very heavy weight too now with their density and the extra patches on them. So sturdy. That's a good thing. Excuse me. So that's the Make, Do, and Mend corner for today. And now we will get on to the meat of this episode. I might have to adjust here. Well, it's okay. We're okay. The Pravda pullover, and why I'm talking about this today. Because in episode 8, or after episode 8, my friend Kathy, who lives down in Iowa, she saw that episode. I asked her to watch, so I would, and subscribe, so that I was build subscribers. Early days, remember? And so she was watching, and she said, "I love that sweater. Can you make that sweater for me?" Well, I don't know if Kathy remembers this, but I didn't give her a retirement gift when she retired. And I always felt bad about that. I think I had the promise of one or something like that, and I just didn't do it because I had a couple things in mind. I had a thing in mind. I bought yarn for it. I really didn't like the yarn. It was this really lofty mohair yarn, and it had some sparkle to it, and Kathy loves sparkle. But in the store, it looked sort of lavender. When I got it home, it looked gray, like dirty gray, dirty lavender or dirty gray. It just looked off, and I was really disappointed in it. So I lost confidence in that project. And then I had another idea, and I had some Zauberball Crazy in the black and raspberry shifty colorway, and I was going to make her a hitchhiker, and that never got off the ground either, for whatever reason, I'm not sure. So, so she said, "Well, would you make that sweater for me?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah," because it was fairly, even though it looks complicated, it's fairly simple. So yes, I will do that. She deserves a sweater. So she picked out, she said she sent me a screenshot of me with saying, "I want this to be charcoal, I want this to be pink, I want the rust to be white or cream," or whatever. I was like, okay, I can do that. So I might have I talked about this yarn when I bought it, which was last year. Let's see, I thought I had a ball hanging loose here somewhere. But it is, well, I guess I can hold these up. It is, oh, I'm really losing my shade here. It is Knit Picks. It's pretty in the sunshine, isn't it? Knit Picks Wonder Fluff, which is a blend of alpaca, merino, and nylon. And it's one of these where there's I'm not sure if it's going to show up very well. Let's see, where can I focus it? Hard to see it in the sunshine, I think. There's a core, and the yarn is blown into it. You can't really see the core very well. Maybe kind of right there. But that's what it is. So it's amazingly lightweight. A whole ball is big for 100 grams. Very lofty. And, oh wow, this will be light as air to weather. This sweater, very heavy and dense. Kathy's sweater, going to be light and airy. So last summer, I knit a gauge swatch, and just did this little, it looks like Neapolitan, doesn't it? It looks like those, what are those candies with the licorice? I don't know if they make those anymore. Coconut and licorice or something, the 3 flavors. Or also like all sorts. So I made the swatch and washed and blocked it. And somewhere I might have notes. can't find them. I can't find them. Everything got disconnected from itself. Stand by just one moment. I'm going to see if I can rectify my sunlight just a bit. I'm sure you can still hear me. I'm just pinning back up a little screen, a little there. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Now I have a line. So, yeah, okay, better than nothing, I guess. Anyway, so I have my swatch. Don't know where the notes are, if I took notes, and I probably did, but I just can't find them. They didn't stay with the pattern. Well, I had one printed out copy of the pattern with all of my notes from the original making, but I didn't have any notes on there about what I was doing for Kathy's version. And I didn't have a project page made up yet for it on Ravelry. So somewhere there's probably a little notebook with some cryptic notes that mean nothing to me. I really need to get better at note-taking. Some days I do, some days it's a mess. So I made the swatch, and then I also made a little postage stamp size swatch for Kathy to take back with her to Iowa. We met up for lunch in July or August or whenever that was, so she could just kind of feel it and pet it and everything, because it is very petable yarn. So when I thought, okay, I finished Lauren's sweater. I want to really be done with knitting for other people. And so that I better get Kathy's sweater on the go and finish that up. And then I'll feel a little bit more freed up as far as commission type projects. So I made another gauge swatch using number 7 needles. And they suggested needles on the ball band for this yarn. It's like 10 or 10 and a half. And I'm a loose knitter, so I know never to go with what the ball band says. I mean, I usually immediately go down at least 2 needle sizes. And I looked at this. I think I might have held this up to a needle and thought, okay, 7. I'll try 7. And this is a nice swatch. It's very nice. I think if I was knitting a plain sweater, 7 would be fine. But I'm not knitting a plain sweater. I'm knitting stranded color work. So this is called a comedy of errors for a reason. All right. Take 1. This is take 1. Nice mess, isn't it? This is this sweater was worked from the bottom up, and when I originally made mine, I did a provisional cast on here, knit the yoke up, and did the short row shaping and the neck shaping, and then I picked up and split for sleeves and worked down. Easy peasy, right? Right. So I had Kathy's measurements, and I actually had by now 2 sets of Kathy's measurements, because we did them once in the summer, and then she's lost some weight. So we did them again when I saw her in December, and they did change. They went down. But she said she's happy with a loose sweater. You know, she wanted something loose fitting. So I was kind of doing some averaging and looking at the ease on this sweater, which I made this one. I was heavier, so now it's very loose on me. And it really doesn't feel all that bad. So I thought we'll go with some good positive ease. So I cast on whatever number that, you know, calculated out to be, circled the sizes and that, and I got going and did a provisional cast on with this green wool yarn, and picked up, and I forget, it was something like nearly 300 stitches. Well, here, Gracie had knocked the pattern off the table. It was originally 288 stitches. A lot of stitches. So I started working it in the round, in the round, in the round, and I thought, this is enormous. Even, it's deceptive because when you're here, you're actually going, all this way across and up, and it is a large amount of fabric. And it's deceptively large. Like you hold it up and you go, that's no way, that's gonna, that's way huge for somebody's bust measurement. Well, yeah, it is, because it's taking into account these arms. And I should have done that measurement on Kathy. And I'm going to add that to my measurement card in the future of taking and I'll have to have somebody help with that, like holding your arms down and doing an all over outside circumference measurement. Boy, I just had a little gap in that curtain. Who knows where to sit today? Anyway, so I thought, well, I need to decrease and drop down a size or two. And I did some more math, did it again, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to drop down 2 sizes. So here's how many stitches I need to decrease. But I can't decrease because I want to take this provisional out and pick up and work down. And if I decrease, I won't be able to, rip that out. So I just decided, okay, I'm going to knit and then drop off the stitch that is extra. Knit so many, drop off a stitch, knit so many. So that's what I did. And I have, like here, there's my dropped stitch. So then I close that up and I knit a few rounds and I thought, all right, now I'm going to help myself. Yeah, help myself. And I'm going to put in the barber cords, and you can see them here. This is such a mess, and it doesn't matter anymore. So put barber cords in, and I really did it in kind of a backwards way. Yeah, I could have done what I should have done, which I didn't do. I should have put the barber cord on a number 7 needle and just knit onto it. That's what you're supposed to do. But no, I put the barber cord on a number, well, first I tried putting it on like a 0 needle, thinking that I could just slide it in like the row below my knitting. And it kept catching and catching and catching because the cord was actually bigger than the shaft of the needle. But I thought a 0 would go through the stitches better. And now look, this is fuzzy knitting, so it's really hard to see those stitches. And it's dark, it's February, or no, it's not, it's January. It's dark, it's winter. I'm doing it at night or in the late afternoon in bad light. It's frustrating. So I did put the barber cord on a bigger needle, worked better, got it in there. But the thing about barber cord versus putting yarn in, or maybe an embroidery floss, which is my second choice for putting in a lifeline, which I don't hardly ever do, would be embroidery floss. And that's not stretchy, but this is really not stretchy. So, there's no flexibility to this in here now with this cord on here. It does not stretch out at all. It's just stuck there. So I put that like a row below my live stitches on the needle, and then those first few rounds of knitting were really difficult till I got away from that rigidity of the barber cord. And yeah, I had to do 2 because I didn't have the ones that my friend Kathy gave us that might have been longer. I'm not sure how long hers were that she shared with us. I have 2 in here, so I did half on one, half on the other, knotted them together so they wouldn't slide through the stitches, which they did until I knotted them together. It was a very frustrating process. So then I proceeded onward on my 252 stitches now. Yay me. And I'm knitting and I'm knitting and I'm knitting, and I suddenly realized suddenly after this much knitting, it's twisted. It's twisted. I can't lay it down flat and spread it out. There's a twist in it. So it's a Mobius. It's not a sweater. Like right there, there's a twist. And I, that'll move to wherever I want to move it to. But, now it's somewhere on here. Now it's here, all that work and it's twisted. And it's a hot mess. So this is take 1 and 2. Done. So last Friday, I met my friends at the coffee shop for, I think it was Friday. No, it was Thursday. I don't know. It was a day. Sorry. It was one of those days. And we met at the coffee shop and we were doing our knitting, and I did another provisional cast on with the right number of stitches. And I was just doing the crochet chain. My 252 stitches. And I think I did the chain and then I switched to something else, or we weren't there very long. Anyway, I came home, finished up the chain. Did just as I did in the first go around. I laid it flat out on the coffee table, spread it all out. Was not twisted. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I picked up into it, I picked up the stitches. I was doing that at the coffee shop. I picked up the stitches, okay, of the first round with the charcoal yarn and my number 7 needles. And I used, this, I was having a hard time finding number 7 needles that were wide enough. And I wanted a long pair for the very reason of not, on a smaller, shorter length of circular needle, they would be bunched together and it would be more likely to twist. So that's why I wanted the longest cord that I had so that I would not twist them. So I laid that all out on the table. And so I had to find the interchangeable set and put my longest cord on. And I don't use these very often. But they came in handy for this. These are Knit Pro or Knitter's Pride marbles, which I don't think they make the marbles anymore. They're plastic, but I think they're cool looking. So, yeah. So I laid it all out on the table, all facing just perfectly in a circle, not twisted. Kept patting it down to make sure it was not twisted. Picked the needle tips up, knit the first stitches, picked it up and went around and knit, 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 knit. And then I started doing the color work. And at the bottom, knitting up from the bottom, you have, you see just this boom, boom. You've got a long stretch in there. So there's a lot there. I have to catch that float at least a couple times, if not 3 times. So I'm going along and I'm putting in catching my floats. And see from there to there. And look, you can see there's a float poking through. There's a float poking through, And there's a float poking through. This is too loose of a gauge. This is too loose for me. And I don't want to knit. Look at that. That's even worse right there. And they're not necessarily, there are 2 right on top of each other, but they're actually, there's a row in between where it's floating across them. Like here, it's more angled like it should be, but they're still poking through. And I was very frustrated with that because I thought, I don't know for sure and I didn't do a swatch with the color work and wash and block it to see how the float settled down, if they did, if they didn't. This is too loosey-goosey for me. I can't handle this. And I don't want Kathy to have a sweater with floats poking through. What am I going to do? Also, I got this far and it's twisted and it's a mess. It's a mess. And it's twisted again. It twisted it. I don't know how it twisted. I don't know when it twisted, but it twisted. So not only are the floats agonizing to me, it's also twisted. So Friday evening, this was Friday. This was all I did on Friday, was this much knitting on this sweater, cast it on, and it was worthless, useless. And I don't know if you can tell it, but it's very dry in here. It's the dry time of winter now. So this yarn is going all over the place. It's sticking like static cling. It's like there, it's stuck to my arms. You know, it's not, I should have knit this in August and July when it was hot and humid. No, let's knit it now in February when it's dry and it's going to fly all over the place. And twist and twist and twist. So there's take 3. Useless. I thought, well, I don't want that yarn to be so airy and see-through. What am I going to do? I slept on it. What am I going to do? So on Saturday, I woke up with the bright idea that I would knit from the top down so that I would have fewer stitches on the needle. I could start with a smaller needle, less chance of twisting. I would still do a provisional cast on rather than starting with the neck edge, because I see how open this neck edge is for me. I don't necessarily like that. I could take this off and change it like I did on that screwball sweater from the last episode, but I don't think I'm going to. So I don't want to have it this open for Kathy. And we talked about that, and she said she doesn't want it right up here, but I think somewhere in between, right up here and way out here, will be where we land. So provisional cast on at the neck edge, yay. But my bright idea was to knit the yarn doubled, and I have a lot of this yarn. So I got out more balls of yarn, and I started knitting it doubled on, did I do a little gauge swatch? I don't know. I might have. Yes, I did. I'm not sure where it is. I think I did. I had to, because I did the math to see, and now I went down a whole bunch of needle sizes, because now instead of 4.5 stitches per inch with a number 7 needle, I had 3 stitches to the inch on a number 9 needle, and much happier. Now these are closer together. There's, I'm trying to see if I was catching the yarn anywhere on here yet, but nothing's showing through as far as floats. It's denser. I was very happy with it. I'm going along, great guns, and I thought, yeah, this is denser. This is double thickness of that alpaca yarn, plus the added thickness you get from stranding. I was working on this on Saturday evening, and I thought, this is going to be a furnace. This is going to be a jacket, a coat, an outside sweater. And I don't think that's what Kathy wants. I mean, my hands were, I was getting so overheated just holding on to this, you know. And I think Kathy kind of is running hot these days, if you know what I mean. So, because she's, yes, anyway. So, I don't think she'd want to be in an alpaca furnace of a sweater. So it's a nice idea in theory, and it's not twisted, it's not, but it's just way too dense, and you know, it will probably, I don't know, after washing and blocking, I just think it's way too thick, so good idea. There's a take 4 down the drain. So I don't remember if this was still Saturday night or Sunday. I cast on a swatch in the round on number 4 needles. Now the ball band calls for 10 or 10 and a half, and I'm on number 4. Here's the weird thing about this. This yarn vexes me because this number 4 gauge is the same as the number 7 gauge. What's happening is the loft of this yarn, the hairiness of this yarn is just more compacted. It's just making itself denser. The stitches are the same width apart. So 4.5 stitches here on 7s, straight needles, 4.5 stitches here in the round on number 4s. Who knew? Who knew? This is why we swatch. Endless swatches. So I did the swatch. I did some color work. Happy with the carries. You can't see them. And there are some in the pink section here. There are some catches behind, you know, the 5 pink stitches there. You can't see the white poking through. You can't see the white poking through there. So, happy with that. Finally, here's where we're going. So I go back up to whatever size that turned out to be. I have too many things circled on my pattern right now. But I go back up, do a provisional cast on at the neck edge, restart the yoke. So from Sunday to last night, and I worked on some other things. I didn't take this with me when I went out twice during the week. I just knit on this at home. I now have the color work yoke complete, and I'm very happy with it. And I'm going to take my sweater off after this episode and put this one up against it because it should be a bit smaller than mine. Feels lovely, feels wonderful. Very happy. Look at that. Look at that pretty color work. Not real. Oh, that's not a float. That's a speck of something on there. Floats aren't showing through, even, you know, where they're caught over a large number of stitches. Like, let's see down here at the, like, there's no white poking through. There's something right there. But I do have more confidence that when this is washed in block, the floats will settle down better behind. And while I was doing this, I did watch some YouTube tutorials on catching floats. I watched 2 or 3, and I think the one I liked the best, I believe, was the Brooklyn tweed. And by that time, you know, one of the other ones had good information, but I just sort of settled on the Brooklyn tweed tutorial, and that was good. And I watched several of those, the other ones of his then while I was knitting. So I finally got it to where it should be. Take 5. Plenty of yarn left. I will take these out and reuse this yarn as I work on that sweater. I'm trying to think. The rest of it's plain knitting, so I don't need any of the pink or the cream anymore, just the charcoal. But there's plenty of charcoal in those failed attempts to use up. Yeah. And this, I don't know. I should finish this and make something out of it. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what, a baby cap? I don't know. It's small, you know. Could be a little baby cap, but that's an alpaca baby cap. We'll see. I'll think about it. Maybe a bowl. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. So that is the Pravda sweater for my friend Kathy, in progress. I won't show it to you again until it's finished. And I don't know when that'll be because I want to get to a stopping point with it and then meet up with her. We have a halfway point between her and me, and that's about 90 minutes away. And we'll meet up. I'll have her try it on for fit before I, finish the rest of it. I'll get it to a point where she can try it on. So that's my big project for the last little while, and it just really knocked me flat for a bit, but it's better now. So I just want to touch briefly before we end today about the bingo card. Some of you have requested the bingo card, and if you didn't see last episode, this is the Maker's Bingo card for 2025 that I created, just to kind of give us some little creative, not incentives, sort of incentives, but just, ideas, prompts on what to do for the year. And one of them, let me just get the thing. It's back here. Here we go. Sorry, I meant to bring this up with me and I forgot. Okay. Oops, bumped the table, bumped the camera. It's a good thing we're almost done. This square, find a craft supply at the hardware store. I happened to be at the hardware store this week. And I thought, well, I'm here. Maybe I should try and find something. So they had a bin of, marked down, cheapy type tools and that. And I usually never look in it. Although you can find there were more than one thing that would work for a craft supply in there. There was a little, one of those metallic dishes that you could put parts in. Well, those also work great for holding sewing pins or any kind of metallic, things that you might have for your sewing or creating. But what I found in there was this four-piece set of picks. And I've been watching a bunch of sewing videos where they show, they're showing sewing, and they'll show using one of these to kind of hold and push the fabric through as you're sewing. And of course, these also work good for poking out corners for sewing, and a couple of them are curved. I have an awl for bookbinding, but it stays in the box with the bookbinding supplies, so it's not up in the sewing room. And I thought, well, this will be handy. I can keep these right with the, in the sewing machine drawer, and I'm sure the hooky ones will come in handy for something. But for sure, these two on the left, this one for, helping push the fabric through when it's, I'm not sure why they're using that, if it's a tiny thing or if it's a bulky thing, but yeah, they do show that. And the awl will be handy for making holes if I need to. So that was my find at the hardware store. Yeah, a little set of picks. So I need to start crossing my stuff off on this list, because I did also, mend the slippers, and I think that was on here. Repair a garment. Well, okay. Yeah. So if you want a bingo card, contact me. I was not able to add them to the Ravelry page or add them to the blog. I thought I would be able to put a PDF on the blog, but unless I just haven't figured that, I haven't figured it out yet. So there's got to be a way. But if you want a card, and I would like to have you play along, please ask, email me at livelearn livelearnnit.blogspot@gmail.com and ask for a bingo card, because there will be prizes. That's all still in the works. We're going to do them, we are going to do them quarterly. So by the end of March, we'll go January, February, March, and then I'll do a drawing at the 1st of April. Anybody that's got a bingo, just a, you know, one bingo, not a blackout, you can enter. And if you get like a bingo this way and a bingo this way, you could enter twice. And I'll write up these rules, if you will. They're loose rules. You know, it'll be on the honor system, but I do want reportings or visuals of what you've done, like, you know, share photos or describe, well, I did this, I did that. And, you know, maybe a screenshot of your card or something like that. So, yeah, and we'll put the names in the drawing, and the prizes will be a combination of choices. Because I haven't offered prizes or giveaways in a long time, partly because of the postage and the international shipping concept and cost and customs. Not sure how to handle all of that. And so we will offer either, you know, especially if you're in the States, some physical items, but especially for international, we will have probably like a credit for a Ravelry pattern or something like that. So I know that's what a lot of other bloggers do. I've seen it on other blogs, and I think that's a good idea. It's a good way to, you know, give a prize. So keep working on your bingo card. Ask for one if you don't have one yet. There is a Live, Learn, Knit group on Ravelry, so join that and follow along. And what else? I guess it's getting close to an hour, so I will just end with, it's going to be a lovely weekend. There's, you know, start of February. That's good. We're turning towards spring. We had no winter again this year. One snowfall, and it's green. It's brown. It's brown out there now. We'll probably have a whole bunch of snow in February. Who knows? But we'll wait and see on that. The quote I found for us today to end with is from Maya Angelou, and she says, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have." I really like that. I think it's very true. It snowballs. It really does. You know, one thing leads to another. All these 4 mistakes in the Pravda sweater led to a 5th good Pravda. So yes, just keep on creating and it'll just snowball for. Something has to snowball this winter, so why not our creativity, huh? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.